Rosh Hashanah's in the house tonight. All the world is passing through the light. Let's all get written in the book of life. Shana Tova, it's holiday time.
Hello, we're learning the laws of Rosh Hashanah. If you're following along in the Mishnah Berurah, we're on Siman Tov Kuf Pei Daled, 584, Seif Beis, Sif 2. Now we're going to be talking about the laning, the Torah reading on Rosh Hashanah. Motziin Shnei Sifrei Torah. On Rosh Hashanah we take out two Torahs. Be'echad Karin Chamisha. In the first Torah we read 5 Aliyahs. Me'va Hashem Pakad Asar, from Hashem remembered sorrow. Ad Vayhi Achar Advar Ma'ela, until Vayhi Achar Advar Ma'ela. Vimhu Shabbos Karin Bo Shiva. And if it's Shabbos, we read 7 Aliyahs. Umafter Kar B'Sheni B'Parshas Pinchas, and the second Torah for Mafter we read Parshas Pinchas U'Bechodesh Hashvi, and the 7th month Umafter Vayhi Ish Echad Min Ramasayim Ad Vayarm Karen Meshicho. We read the story of Shmuel, that Chana was answered by having a child, similar to how Sarah was answered by having a child. And Chana's child was Shmuel, and Sarah's child was Yitzchak. V'yesh makomos shenogim likros hatakeya v'minyan hachamisha ha'olam l'sefer Torah. And there are places where the custom is that the person blowing the shofar gets an aliyah. Okay, let's read the Mishnah Berurah. V'o mevashem pakad lefisha b'Rosh Hashanah nifkada Sarah Rachel v'Chana. So why do we read the parsha the first day of Rosh Hashanah? We read the parsha of where Sarah gave birth to Yitzchak, because on Rosh Hashanah she was answered by Hashem, so was Rachel, and so was Chana. Shiva. On Shabbos we read 7 Aliyahs, right? On the Ramchal writes that each day that we lane, the holiness of the day is signified, is represented by the number of Aliyahs in the Torah portion. So on Mondays and Thursdays we read 3 Aliyahs, which is a regular day. On Rosh Chodesh we read 4 Aliyahs, it's a little holier. On Yantiv, Rosh Hashanah is a Yantiv, we read 5 Aliyahs. Yom Kippur is 6 Aliyahs. And then on Shabbos there are 7 Aliyahs. So if Rosh Hashanah falls on Shabbos, we read 7 Aliyahs. And he says we add Mosif and Lasos Beis Parshas. The first, Biyom Yigamal Yitzchak Beis Basher Husham. And he says where there we add the extra 2 Aliyahs to make it 7 Aliyahs if Rosh Hashanah falls out on Shabbos. Hashvi, the 7th, Ad Ishel Hashem, until Ishel Hashem. That's the maftir. We read until the word Ad Ishel Hashem. Vim Tav v'hishli b'parsha ba'arba kriyim o shlosha v'adayin lo amar kaddish. Now let's say what happens. Let's say you finish the whole parsha, except you forgot to call 5 people for the aliyah. You only called 3 or 4. So you finished everything you're supposed to read for Rosh Hashanah. You read too much, and you only had 3 or 4 people called up. And you didn't say Kaddish yet. What do? Yashlam min yarakriyim b'parshas Akedah shachra. You keep reading, go to the next parsha, which is about the Akedah, which is about the binding and almost sacrifice of Isaac. So you just keep reading. V'im amar Kaddish. Let's say you did say Kaddish. That's if you didn't say Kaddish. What if you did say Kaddish? Because we say Kaddish before we read the maftir. So what happened here? You called up 3 or 4 people. You're supposed to call up 5, and you finished the whole parsha and you said Kaddish. What do you do in that case? Let's say you called 4 and you're only missing 1 person. Really, you're supposed to call up 5 and you said Kaddish. What do? Ein sarach likros. You don't have to read anything else. You just call up a 5th person for the maftir. Kain kazu b'shari Ephraim. That's what it writes in the Shari Ephraim. Which was Chasam Sofer Chelik Orachaim. Siman Kuf Samech Tes Kasav Diim Hishlam Aparsha Ba'arba Lo Yamar Kaddish Ad Achar Sheikru B'Sefer Torah Shnia V'Yah Maftir Ola Lechamishi. He says the Chasam Sofer adds that if you have read 4 people from the first Sefer Torah and you didn't say Kaddish, the 5th Aliyah should be from the 2nd Sefer Torah, and you say Kaddish after V'Yah Maftir Ola Lechamishi. And the maftir will count for the 5th aliyah. The kaimalon maftir ola leminyan hakrim, because he says that technically the maftir can count for the number of people that you're required to call up. Usually the maftir is extra. So usually, if you don't make a mistake, you have 5 aliyahs, and then the 6th is the maftir. But he says here, if you made a mistake and you read 4 aliyahs and you finish the parsha, the Chassam Sofer says you could read the 5th aliyah as the maftir, because technically you could count the maftir as one of the 5th aliyahs. V'im tavakar b'yom rishon b'parsha akeda yatsa. Now let's say that usually what we do is the first day of Rosh Hashanah we read about Sarah giving birth to Yitzchak, and the second day of Rosh Hashanah we read about the Akedah. So what if you flipped it? What if by accident you read on the first day the story of the Akedah? So he says you fulfill your obligation. You don't have to go back. The Kar b'yom sheni parshas v'Hashem pakat, and just in the second day read what you're supposed to read the first day. V'gam parshas Akedah atzof is and also the Akedah. So let's say by accident you read the Akedah on the first day. So the second day read the story of Sarah giving birth to Yitzchak and finish with reading the story of the Akedah. When we call makam im niskar ba'oda kari b'parshas Akedah shetav adayin lo berach achron bracha achrona yiglo v'yikrim lo parsha v'Hashem pakat atzof v'achakach yivarech bracha achrona. Now what if you realize in the middle, let's say it's usually, hopefully someone in shul, there's a lot of people in shul on Rosh Hashanah, somebody's going to catch this, so if you start reading the story of the Akedah on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, what should you do? You should wind back, and the person didn't make a blessing yet, you should wind back the Torah and read from the story of Sarah giving birth to Yitzchak, and then after you can make the bracha. So in the middle of the laning, just scroll back. Od kasav matifraim. Furthermore, it says in the matifraim, Roy lechol gaver yarei Hashem lehishtadel shielo aliyah b'yom noraim. A person who fears Hashem should try to get an aliyah on the high holy days. And even in a place where they sell aliyahs because it's a mitzvah to give money to a shul. So in the shuls do it like as a fundraiser, and it's a mitzvah to give money. So he says, even if you have to pay for the aliyah, you should try to pay for the aliyah. But Adrab, on the contrary, he says it's more of an elevation, it's more of a merit, I guess, that if someone spends money for a mitzvah, than if he does the mitzvah for free. Okay, hatokea. We also said that the person who's blowing the shofar gets an aliyah. There are certain places where they give an aliyah to the person reading musaf, the person praying musaf for everybody, the shliach tzibor. And the same thing in Yom Kippur, that the person who davens leads musaf should get an aliyah. But someone who's getting paid for blowing the shofar and for davening, there is no custom to call them up. Okay, so there we had a few of the laws of laning, and that one should try to make an effort to get an aliyah on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Everyone have a great day.